The Czech Republic is easy to miss on a map. A landlocked nation nestled in Central Europe, no oceans, no flashy skylines, no tropical islands to boast. But look closer, and you'll find something far more surreal. Beaches without borders, shores without judgment, and a way of life untouched by the noise of modern moral panic. In quiet corners of the country, especially where the lakes run deep and the pine forests close in, you'll find places that feel like whispered secrets, known only to those who've dared to stray from the tourist trail. Here, beneath the soft golden light of the countryside, strangers are welcomed not with suspicion, but with wine, with warmth, and sometimes with something more unusual. On the banks of the Vltava, in the rippling silence of Czechia's forgotten edges, women host with a grace that's both ancient and bold. Hospitality here isn't a formality, it's a ritual. And as the night stretches on and the drinks are poured again, something curious happens. Husbands step back, wives step forward, and the night becomes a dance of trust, tradition, and something stranger still. This is not just about lakes and leisure. This is the beginning of a story about a place that holds on to its roots while quietly rewriting the rules of love, marriage, and connection. The village with no judgments. Tucked away in the rolling hills of southern Czechia is a village that doesn't appear on most maps, but those who find it rarely forget it. It's a place where the rules are reversed and the roles reimagined. Here, women are not just caretakers or companions. They are hosts, leaders, symbols of trust and sensuality. As the sun fades and the candles flicker to life, the village transforms. A soft buzz rises from within timbered inns and rustic dining halls. Women emerge, calm, composed, in control. They move between tables, offering drinks, stories, smiles. And their husbands? They sit back, relaxed, sipping, watching with pride. Not possessiveness, not fear. It's not about seduction. It's about ritual and trust. Outsiders might find it hard to understand. In most parts of the world, such a scene would spark controversy, or worse, scandal. But here, it's just how things are, rooted in an unspoken understanding. Love doesn't have to control to be real, and a woman's autonomy doesn't threaten a man's dignity. It confirms it. In this village, tradition hasn't been broken. It's been reborn. Tradition meets temptation. Czech women's role in culture. To understand the soul of Czech culture, you must first understand its women. Confident, warm, and quietly powerful, Czech women carry the legacy of a country that has known war, poetry, revolution, and resilience. Their beauty is undeniable. Glowing skin, soft but piercing eyes, hair that catches the light like gold in glass. But beyond the surface lies something deeper, something elemental. They lead with affection, but make no mistake, they lead. In love and in life, Czech women are often the ones who take initiative. A glance, a joke, a drink poured. Every act deliberate. Their culture does not reward passivity. It respects strength dressed in elegance. A woman here might ask you out first. She might serve you a beer, then call out your nonsense in the same breath. It's not contradiction, it's clarity. And in the village we speak of, that remote place where hospitality flows into the night, it's these women who make the experience unforgettable. They are not submissive, they are sacred, holding space for connection, commanding the room with poise and mischief. Where many societies have taught women to shrink, Czech culture lets them expand, fully, freely. And for those willing to experience it, it's both disarming and deeply human. Rituals of love under the cherry trees. Every year, on the 1st of May, something soft and cinematic unfolds across Czechia. Beneath blooming cherry trees, couples gather, not for spectacle, but for ritual. A kiss. That's all it takes. One kiss, exchanged beneath a canopy of petals, is said to seal another year of love, vitality, and devotion. It's not a festival with banners and fireworks. It's quiet, intimate, poetic. This moment, fleeting, fragrant, and filled with meaning, captures the essence of Czech relationships. Public affection here is not forbidden. It's encouraged. Love is not something to be hidden or privatized. It's a part of life's rhythm, like the seasons or the soil. After the kiss, couples often stroll to their favorite pub. There, over pilsners and small plates, they reflect, laugh, remind each other why they chose to love in the first place. It's simple, but it's everything, and it sets the stage for the bigger picture. The way Czech society honors connection, the way strangers can become friends in one evening, the way a wife can welcome a guest not just into her home, but into a story of shared energy. The cherry trees bloom, the kisses linger, and the village, somewhere out there in the countryside, prepares once again to welcome the night, National Marriage Week, love rebuilt and reimagined. In a nation where nearly half of all marriages end in divorce, you'd expect cynicism. But in the Czech Republic, the opposite is true. Every February, couples across the country participate in something profound. National Marriage Week. It's not about fairy tales. It's about facing the truth and choosing to love anyway. During this week, partners renew vows, retell their love stories, and in many cases, remarry each other. It's not uncommon to see middle-aged couples walking hand in hand toward the love bridge in Prague, locks in hand, ready to seal another promise. Not out of obligation, but desire. In a world where relationships often feel transactional, this tradition invites reconnection. It's a pause, a reset, an emotional detox. In our quiet village too, the spirit of this week lives on. Women who serve strangers by night often return to their own lovers with deeper affection. There is no guilt, no hidden agenda, only freedom, and the realization that love isn't less valuable when it's shared in openness. Sometimes it becomes even stronger. The night ritual, women as hosts, men as observers. And now, the question that lingers in every curious mind, what really happens in the village at night? As dusk falls, firelight begins to flicker through window panes. Music hums low from wooden interiors. Guests arrive, some from nearby towns, others from as far as France or Germany. And the women, they prepare. Not to seduce, but to host. Not to obey, but to lead. Dressed simply, yet stunningly, they move through the space like storytellers, serving drinks, starting conversations, creating moments that feel both old world and impossibly modern. Their husbands do not interfere. They watch proudly as their wives connect, pour, laugh, sometimes with flirtation, sometimes with fierce wit. It is not a swingers club. It's not transactional. It is something older, a social right born from hospitality, dignity, and a mutual agreement between partners. Guests often leave changed, not because they were titillated, but because they were welcomed into something sacred. The rare act of being seen, heard, and hosted by someone who truly holds the room. Witch burning and spring cleansing, every April 30th, the Czech countryside lights up with fire. Huge wooden figures, straw witches, are set ablaze in bonfires that roar under starlit skies. Children cheer, elders sing, and women, many dressed in black shawls and long skirts, lead the chants. It's called the Burning of the Witches, but don't be misled by the name. This isn't about fear, it's about release. The ritual dates back centuries, tied to the end of winter and the beginning of spring. The witches represent negativity, heaviness, toxic energy. As they burn, so do the doubts, the grudges, the darkness of the cold season. In some villages, the women hold hands and circle the flames. They laugh, they cry, they reclaim space. In the village we speak of, the remote radical one, this festival holds deeper meaning. It symbolizes feminine power, community healing, and the rebirth of the soul. It's no coincidence that shortly after, the village's hosting nights begin again. Lighter, freer, the winter has burned away. Sensuality without shame. Czech beaches, lakes, and freedom. It may surprise you to learn that some of the most liberating beaches in Europe aren't in Greece or Spain. They're in a landlocked country with no coastlines. But in the Czech Republic, water finds a way. Along tranquil rivers and crystalline lakes, an unexpected culture of openness blooms. Forget the manicured chaos of touristy beaches. In the Czech countryside, especially along the Vltava and around Lipno Lake, there's a very different kind of energy. These are not places for performance. No overpriced cabanas, no crowded selfie sticks. Here, nature is quiet, and so are the people. Locals lay their towels beneath birch trees or beside silent reeds. They laugh softly, rage slowly, sip beers chilled by river stones. And then there are the women. Confident, radiant, and utterly unbothered, Czech women sunbathe with a sense of belonging. Often topless, always free. Not for the eyes of men, not for shock, but for themselves. It's not rebellion, it's just normal. There is no shame in skin here. The body is not a battleground. Sensuality is not weaponized or suppressed. It simply exists like the water or the wind. And the locals, especially in the more remote communities, respect that. Unspoken code, no ogling, no whispering, just presence. This tranquil sensuality is not separate from the culture of the village we've been exploring. It's woven into it. The women who host at night are the same women who swim in the sun freely. Their confidence isn't costume, it's cultivated. Nurtured by a society that doesn't punish openness. So while the world debates decency and modesty, this little corner of Czechia simply lives. And maybe that's the lesson, that liberation doesn't always need revolution. Sometimes it just needs silence, sunshine, and a place to lay your towel without fear. The unspoken pact, why men are not threatened. In most societies, if a woman were to spend her evening entertaining strangers, serving drinks, sharing laughter, commanding the space, eyebrows would raise, questions would swirl, and if her husband simply sat nearby, smiling with quiet admiration, people might assume something was broken in their relationship. But in this village, that's not the case. What outsiders misinterpret as passivity is actually power. It's trust. Radical, romantic, and deeply cultural. Czech men, particularly in rural and tradition-rich regions, grow up with a different kind of masculinity. It's not based on dominance or surveillance. It doesn't rely on control. Instead, it's shaped by cooperation, by a long-standing understanding that love thrives not in confinement, but in confidence. The unspoken pact between husband and wife in this village is one of mutual reverence. The woman offers her presence not as submission, but as a gift, and the man, in return, offers space, not because he's absent, but because he knows she is whole without his policing. Strangers who arrive often expect tension. Some even expect boundaries to be tested. But what they find is the opposite. The energy is warm but never chaotic, intimate but never invasive. Because the rules, while invisible, are deeply ingrained, everyone knows their role, and that includes the guests. It may sound strange, wives hosting while husbands observe, but in truth, it reveals something profound. That love, when built on honesty and strength, doesn't crumble under freedom. It deepens. The trust here isn't blind. It's earned day by day, smile by smile, year by year. In a world full of relationships haunted by jealousy, guarded by phones, and broken by fear, perhaps this village is onto something ancient, something real. Festivals of intimacy and open connection. If you want to understand the soul of a country, don't just visit its monuments. Attend its festivals. And in Czechia, the calendar overflows with celebrations that are less about pomp and more about people, especially love, especially connection. Take Easter, for example. In most Western countries, it's about candy and bunnies. But in the Czech Republic, there's something far more intimate at play. On Easter Monday, men roam the countryside with braided willow branches, lightly tapping the women they admire. It's not about dominance, it's about fertility, joy, and renewal. A playful, centuries-old gesture that says, "I see you, I wish you growth." Women in return reward them with painted eggs or a shot of plum liquor. It's a dance, innocent, sensual, symbolic, and it doesn't stop there. Throughout the year, Czech culture celebrates tenderness. From folk music festivals where lovers waltz barefoot in fields, to village fairs where entire families picnic under ancient oaks, connection is a living tradition. In our remote village, these customs take on deeper meaning. The hosting ritual, where women serve and men support, feels less like an exception and more like an extension of these cultural norms. Here, intimacy is public. Affection isn't hidden behind closed doors. It's part of daily life, celebrated, ritualized, and shared. And perhaps that's what makes Czech traditions so distinct. They don't fear the blurred lines between personal and communal love. They don't lock affection away. They set it free in festivals, in rituals, and in everyday acts of trust. Prague's clock of destiny, where magic still ticks. In the heart of Prague, a clock ticks with eerie precision. 6 centuries old, the astronomical clock is not just a marvel of engineering. It's a relic of myth, magic, and fate. Tourists crowd beneath it every hour to watch the skeleton ring his bell and the saints march in circles. But few understand what it truly means. Legend says if the clock were to stop, misfortune would fall upon the nation. And so it is maintained not just by mechanics, but by reverence. This is no ordinary timekeeper. It's a pulse, a living artifact of a people who believe that history and destiny are bound together. And what's remarkable is how the clock mirrors the deeper rhythm of Czech life. Time here is not a rigid force, it's a cycle of love, loss, renewal, of tradition and freedom. The same way the villagers in the remote lands welcome each night with openness, the clock welcomes each hour with ceremony. It's a reminder that even in modernity, Czechia holds space for the mystical, for cycles, signs, and synchronicity. The same forces that guide a woman as she pours wine for a stranger, or a husband as he watches her with pride, also tick away behind the face of this ancient clock. To stand beneath it is to feel history watching, not judging, just observing, like the villagers do, like time itself does. And maybe, in a place where love, ritual, and freedom coexist, that's enough. Castles, cellars, and secrets of Czech nobility. Step through the gates of Prague Castle, and you don't just enter history, you descend into a world of shadowed halls and whispered secrets. This isn't just the largest castle complex in the world, it's a theater of human contradiction, power and vulnerability, royalty and rebellion, sacred vows and forbidden love. Beneath the soaring spires of St. Vitus Cathedral, royal weddings once echoed through stone chambers. But wander deeper into the candle-lit cellars and golden alleyways, and another story emerges, one of secret trysts, unsanctioned affairs, and women who wielded influence not from thrones, but from behind veils and locked doors. It's in these stone corridors that you begin to understand Czech history's intimate tension between the seen and the hidden, between public power and private rebellion. This duality survives today in places like the remote village we've explored. The ritual of wives hosting strangers may seem radical, but it's simply the latest chapter in a country that's always blended tradition with quiet transgression. And so the past lingers. In the flicker of a lantern down a castle stairwell, in the glint of a wine glass raised by a woman in a lakeside inn. Both spaces, centuries apart, share the same spirit, elegance, secrecy, and the right to choose one's role in love. Beauty, glass, and the feminine touch. In the wooded heart of Bohemia, fire still dances inside ancient glass furnaces. For over 800 years, artisans here have crafted some of the world's most exquisite crystal. Not by machine, but by breath, by hand, by intuition. This is not just craft, it's legacy. And while the world knows Bohemian glass for its clarity and elegance, fewer realize that many of its finest makers are women. Generations of them, shaping molten light into goblets, vases, and chandeliers that capture more than reflection, they capture soul. The process is delicate, demanding. One wrong breath and the form collapses. But get it right and you've created something eternal. There's something poetic in that, in the way Czech women sculpt glass, and in the way they shape their lives. Both require grace, control, and the courage to work with fire. In the remote village, when a woman serves a guest, smiling, poised, completely at ease, you're witnessing the same quiet mastery. She is not a servant, she is a sculptor of space, of mood, of memory. The crystal you bring home from Czechia may sit on your shelf untouched, but the memory of that woman that night, that glint in her eye, that may stay with you forever. Love, divorce, and a culture of emotional honesty. In most countries, a 47% divorce rate would be a crisis. In the Czech Republic, it's simply a fact, not a failure. Because here, love isn't defined by permanence. It's measured by presence, by truth, by what it gave while it lasted. And when it ends with grace. Couples part ways, not with scandal, but with understanding. Some even remarry, not just someone new, but sometimes each other. And that says something profound about the Czech way of love. It's fluid, forgiving, focused on emotional honesty over appearances. This is the soil from which traditions like National Marriage Week grow. Not to shame the divorce, but to honor the still in love, the starting over, the newly willing. It's a week to recommit, reflect, or redefine what love means now. And in our secluded village, this mindset is lived daily. A woman who connects with strangers in the evening doesn't hide that from her husband. She shares it. They talk, they laugh, they reconnect with deeper clarity. Because here, love isn't a cage, it's a garden. Sometimes things grow, sometimes they wither, but the tending never stops. Maybe the world could learn something from that, freedom, dressed as tradition. So we return, one last time, to that quiet, forgotten village, where the lakes shimmer, the firewood crackles, and women move through twilight with strength disguised as softness. What seemed at first like a fantasy, wives serving strangers with their husband's blessing, reveals itself to be something else entirely, a culture of trust, of emotional maturity, of love that doesn't fear freedom. This is Czechia's true paradox, a place where ancient castles hold stories of transgression, where festivals invite public affection, where beaches celebrate bare skin without shame, and where a remote village becomes a sanctuary of shared connection. It isn't utopia, it's something braver. A world where tradition isn't used to control, but to protect space for radical honesty. A world where both commitment and curiosity can coexist. In an age obsessed with ownership and boundaries, the Czech Republic offers something different. A hand extended, a smile unforced, and a night that doesn't have to mean anything more than exactly what it is. Real, unscripted, and free.